welcome to another edition of Under Center with Kirk Cousins. Mark Rosen, your host, back with you, and all smiles today. Kirk, a 28-10 win over the Giants in New York on Sunday afternoon. And after breaking down film, what stood out to you about the overall effectiveness of this team and in particular this offense?
Well, I felt the offense in the first half was about as dynamic as you can be. I think points were the frustration to only have 18 points at halftime, because when you actually looked at yards gained and plays made, we left a lot of points out there, settling for field goals and then fumbling on the 1-yard line. Fortunately, our defense only gave up 10 points, which really gave us a somewhat of a comfortable lead for much of the game. I continue to feel like our defense prevents points, if you will. They may allow yards and they may allow, it feels like the other team's moving the ball, but then you look up at the scoreboard and there's still a small number of points. And in all three of our wins, really in all of our games, it's been that way. And so that when you have a defense like that, because ultimately that's all it's about is points. You can talk about yards, third down conversions, red zone conversions, all that, but at the end of the day, you got to get points one way or another. And in our 3 wins, it's really been a large margin of victory. So that's exciting to think about. And then also in our losses, we really haven't lost in a blowout game where it's gone the other way. And so we've been in every game, and hopefully that bodes well for the future. But really balanced attack, running the ball, throwing the ball, staying ahead of the chains. You can point to a lot of different players and their contribution yesterday.
After sluggish starts on the road in Green Bay and Chicago, there seemed to be a renewed emphasis on starting fast, and in particular getting you and your receivers into a quick rhythm.
Yeah. Well, it was good to start with points, get a field goal on the first drive. We really have had a great drive to start every game. When you look at even the 2 losses, we convert a 3rd and 10 in Chicago. We moved down past the 50. We didn't convert a 3rd and 10, but we had a 7 or 8 play drive to start the game, which is a lot better than a 3 and out. And then in Green Bay, much the same. We got down into field goal range, in a hostile environment, drove the ball, had another 7 or 8 play drive. Didn't convert a 3rd down, had to settle for a field goal, missed the field goal. But I've been pleased with the way we've started fast. Again, not points-wise, but started fast in terms of converting 3rd downs and moving the ball to at least switch field position and get going right away, right off the bus.
Did you sense, Kirk, early on that you were going to find a lot of open turf against an inexperienced Giants secondary? In fact, front 7 maybe, because I know they had some of their linebackers that were not playing on Sunday as well. Yeah,
I think the key for them personnel-wise was they were a little thinned out at linebacker with some injuries. I think the rest of the pass rush, the secondary, it was really their main guys. I think they had their starting 4 in the secondary that they started the season with. So it was really just linebacker that was a little bit thinner, and we hoped that we could get after him a little bit, put pressure on him. But we weren't sure if that was going to be more in the pass game or the run game. I guess it proved to be a little bit of both. And the bootlegs worked this week. I think that helped quite a bit. Screen game worked. That helped quite a bit. And so it was really kind of an all-around offensive, multiple approach. Let's
talk a little bit more about the bootleg plays and the passing lanes that open up and how effective that makes you as a quarterback when they have to respect a Dalvin Cook, handing the ball to Dalvin Cook in the backfield.
Well, it would seem that they marry well together, and that a defender has to either stay in his gap and play Dalvin Cook for the cutback if the ball's handed off, or he has to play the bootleg and surrender his gap, which allows Dalvin Cook a wider lane through which to cut back. And to put a defender in that bind is great scheme, and we hope to take advantage of it week in and week out, one way or the other. You never really know which one they're going to favor game to game or even play to play. But I've really enjoyed this system and the bootlegs, and that's where a lot of our explosive plays came from yesterday. Many times it's in the play action pass and the screen game as well, but we were able to find a few explosives in the bootlegs, and that made a big difference.
The name of this program is Under Center with Kirk Cousins, so let's literally take us under center with Kirk Cousins on that 11-play, 98-yard drive. You're up 3-0, still in the first quarter. A really good punt by the Giants pinned you guys back to the 2-yard line. You got the hostile crowd yelling in your ear, and really amazing opening up the playbook. A really, really effective drive from the get-go.
It was. When we got over there, backed up in the end zone, you could hear the Giants fans yelling, right there in the end zone, "Cousins, you suck!" And it's a TV timeout, and so you're just having to take it for a good 5 minutes while you're just standing there like, geez, these New Yorkers, they won't let up. So you try to block it out, but it's pretty hard when he's 10 yards away screaming his head off. Probably drunk a little bit, but
no.
So stepped into the huddle, and Kevin said in my headset while we were waiting, he said, "Tell these guys in the huddle we're going 99 yards on this drive. Tell them." And I'm more of a one play at a time guy. I don't really like to think about all the plays we have to make to go 99 yards. So I said to him, hey, guys, let's make sure we get out of here and let's finish this drive with a score. And that was kind of my way of telling him we're going 99 yards. But the key was that third down conversion we had. The first 2 runs were pretty unproductive, and now I'm dropping out of my own end zone, which when I take a shotgun snap out of my own end zone, I am deeply aware of the safety, the potential for a safety. And you have to get out of the pocket if you're going to throw it away. Otherwise, it's intentional grounding. And so you are in a tough spot as a quarterback. And so that football was a hot potato a little bit on that third down, and I found Adam. He sat between 2 zoning defenders and made a great catch. And then the key was he got vertical. He got north and south right away after the catch and got us a first down, got us out of that end zone, and gave us some breathing room.
People talk about explosive plays, but that in itself, if that play doesn't work, you got to punt out of your own end zone.
We're punting
that can
from
change the complexion of a game in a flash.
We're probably punting from the 2-yard line, and now your punt block, potential. Your field position now is going to be against you even more so, and so to get that third down, convert, and get out of there is a huge sigh of relief, let alone then being able to put more plays together. And many times field position is such an underrated piece of how the game ends up going. And when you can get the ball backed up or even on your own 20 or 25 and move it out, even if you don't get points, to move it out and pin them back can make a big difference in the outcome of a game.
There are great running backs, even a guy like Adrian Peterson, who are not in on passing situations, even in the prime of his career. Dalvin Cook is in the game,
right.
Is very effective as a receiver, as long as, of course, as a running back as well. And that's what was important on a little screen pass on a 2nd and 10 from the 14.
Yes, a versatile running back is becoming more and more important in this league because of how much of the game is pass protection, because how complex blitzes are. Running backs' eyes, their vision to see the blitzers, to know where to go fit and help the O-line is so important. And a running back who can't do that will find themselves on the bench in passing situations. And then to run routes correctly, to catch the ball, to have a feel for how to help an offense in the pass game for a running back is more and more an important piece of playing the position. And Dalvin's done a great job as a receiver, and yesterday was the best example. But his ability on a screen pass to set up his blocks, break tackles, and turn 3-yard throws into explosive plays, it makes a huge difference for our offense and changed the feel of that entire drive.
Stephon Diggs also caught an 8-yard pass from your 29-yard line, but then kind of a key play, and a young man we're going to hear from here in a little bit, Bisi Johnson, connected on a 23-yard reception. What are you seeing with him and how the coaches are using him as his young career continues on here?
Yeah, it was great to see Diggsy make that catch because really the coverage was for me to work the other side. And I was trying to get down to my check down, but the pocket opened up. I stepped up, and Diggsy was a friendly target and put it on him. And then the bootleg to Bisi is another great example of a bootleg being an explosive play. It's been great to see Bisi the last 2 weeks come on, had his first NFL catch last week, and now is making some plays for us and helping. So it's great to have that third receiver start to come to the forefront, and the more we can build trust and build a background of plays together, I think it's really going to help us have more confidence as we play together going forward. So that was a huge play. Again, got us, I think, across the 50, kind of set us up now in the strike zone, ready to go score. Another
rookie, Alexander Madison, gives Dalvin Cook a blow on the sidelines, comes in and just blows up the middle for 19 yards. And what have you seen from him and his development so far?
He's continued to have these flash runs where he makes a big play for us, and it's great to have somebody who can spell Dalvin. It's unrealistic to expect Dalvin to carry the ball every time, and as the season goes on and the wear and tear of the season adds up, you're going to need not only 2 running backs but likely 3 or 4, and we feel like we have that with Alex and Mike Boone. But I think this drive, as we talked to, it's funny that to see Adam Thielen has a catch for a third down conversion, and then Stephon Diggs makes a big play, and then Dalvin Cook has a screen pass, and Bisi Johnson catches a shallow or a deep cross, and then Alex Madison has a big run. And so it's great to see the versatility and how many guys are touching the ball and impacting the offense. And I think that's going to be a key thing going forward, is that it's not going to be one guy carrying the load every week. And while there are bigger names on the team, I would expect as a fan watching this that you're going to see 25 make a play, and then you're going to see 81 make a play, and then you're going to see 14 and 19, some more familiar names, make a play. And that's okay. It can be spread out. There is one football, and we're going to get a lot of guys involved, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as we're moving the ball.
Take us into the huddle again as the first quarter expires. The first play of the second quarter. On television, they had a tight shot of you, looking like you're locking eyes with Thielen. Maybe there's some sort of a nonverbal communication going on, but was that the called play that passed in the corner of the end zone for the touchdown?
Well, I think the coverage that they played was ideal for a touchdown pass to Adam. That being said, I mean, we ran that play later, and it was a check down to Dalvin because they played a different coverage. And so you have to react to the coverage that they play. And there were other routes that could have moved the chains and gotten us a third down conversion, but Adams was the only one that was likely going to get us a touchdown. And so it was great to have him create that much separation where when the ball is left a little bit short, he's created enough space where the defensive back can't break it up. And that was a big play. Anytime you can convert a third down is big, let alone for a touchdown. Because if we don't hit that, again, we're settling for a field goal and it's 4 points potentially lost. And so that was a big play in the course of the game.
You had over 250 yards passing in the first half. Dalvin Cook already was doing his thing. But as you mentioned, to Kirk, it was only 18-7 at the half. So you feel it could have been more.
Yeah, I was frustrated coming off the field. I felt like the third down and goal where I took a sack, thought we should have come away with a touchdown there on that possession, that series, one way or another. And then when Dalvin fumbled on the 1 yard line, obviously that one you feel was more of a gift to the Giants than it was, anything else. And so points are the name of the game. Got to have points. Yards and conversions, other things, sounds good, but you got to have points. And we felt like we had left some out there. Fortunately, our defense played in such a way that it didn't come back to haunt us. But we were acutely aware of that. And, it was just a weird game because in the second half, we called off the dogs a little bit. Didn't have the ball as much in the second half, but seemingly called off the dogs, especially late in the fourth quarter. And as a result, you weren't able to be as explosive or do as much as you wanted to. But you do whatever you have to do to get the win. And really in all of our 3 wins, the second half of the game has been less than a full offensive performance, more because of the situation of the game with the lead than anything else.
As you mentioned, that could have been definitely a deflating moment when Dalvin Cook got the ball chopped out of his hands by Peppers. But Anthony Barr then swallowed up the running back.
Complimentary
for
football.
Yeah.
Complimentary football is so important. Dan Bailey making field goals and Britton Colquitt being able to switch the field when it comes to punting and getting us out of being backed up, and our defense stepping up and picking us up or creating a turnover. Boy, does it take the pressure off our offense, and vice versa. If we can score points and get a lead, I know Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter love that, being able to rush the passer with a lead. So, boy, we can help one another have great years when we're playing and firing on all cylinders.
As this game wore on, you didn't have to throw as much, and we saw Dalvin Cook on that 41-yard run do his thing. And again, we've mentioned you have probably the best seat in the house sitting down there watching all this develop with your offensive line, but he is something special. I know we've talked about this, and the Bears shut him down through a combination of reasons, but he was able to get himself into gear on Sunday. And we've talked about this, we're running out of superlatives, but from your perspective, again, what makes him so special as the game wears on?
Yeah, he continues to, when there are arm tackles, he breaks through them. And there was one run I remember near our sideline in the first half, I believe it was the second quarter. He's dead to rights at 5 yards, and he gets 6 or 7 more. And I watched the film, and I'm running it back saying, I don't know how he does that. I don't know why he's so difficult to tackle, but he is. And you, at this point, have to acknowledge it as fact. It isn't, the sample size is large enough now where you see he's turning a 5-yard gain into a 12-yard gain. And when that's the difference between converting and moving the chains or punting, it's a big deal. And we continue to say, how do we get Dalvin Cook the football? Because if week to week it's not the run game, how can we get him involved in the pass game, the screen game, in other ways so that the football is still in his hands in open space, and then he can have a positive impact on our offense?
After Dalvin's 41-yard run, you had first and goal at the 9. So again, take us in the huddle. You went to Thielen, you went up high in the back of the end zone, really about the only place either he was going to catch that ball or no one was going to catch that ball.
Right.
So talk to us about that play call.
Yeah, that's a play we've repped since April, and I've loved it since April. It's one of my favorites, and had a good feeling. We got a look that I thought was the right look after the play was snapped, and I turned my back to the defense to make the play fake. When I looked up, it actually was a different look than I thought, but you react, and I saw Janoris Jenkins low along the front of the end zone, and I knew I could get it over him, but it was going to be tight, and if I put it high enough, it would be a safe throw to Adam or nobody, and it was Adam. And he caught it, and I was nervous when he caught it that he did not get 2 feet down or that it wasn't a completed catch because he ran out of real estate. And then I could tell by his reaction, the ref, and then the replay that it was clearly a touchdown. And that was a big one for us as an offense to be able to kind of strengthen our lead, gain some momentum back, and again, come away with 7 instead of 3. Can't say enough how much of a difference that makes in the outcome of a game.
And the defense pretty much shut down the Giants after that. The Vikings ended up winning 28-10. And after the game, head coach Mike Zimmer had this to say in the Vikings' winning locker room.
The time of possession was outstanding offensively. In the first half, it was 290 yards or something to 92. Okay, we had Kirk. You were 22 of 27 with a 138 quarterback rating. I've got a game ball here for some of the best owners in the NFL, the best owner in the NFL, who's from New York, right?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. So, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And I love you guys as a family. Thank God. God bless you all. On to back home. 1, 2, 3. Go Vikes!
I love that.
New York, New Jersey, what difference does it make?
What was really funny was it was 28-10, I think, late in the fourth. It might have still been 25-10. About 3.5 minutes left, and it looked like we were going to win. And Mr. Wilf was on the sideline, and he came over to me and he said, "Great job today," and shook my hand. And I said, "Mr. Wilf, the game's not over. Like, let's finish this out." And he kind of was embarrassed for a second, and he goes, I know. and then after the game, as I'm walking off the field, he happened to be walking near me, and I went over and shook his hand and said, "Now it's over. Now it's over. We can enjoy it." He was pretty happy, and I even heard the Vikings fans when they were doing the Skol chant. Adam Thielen told me, I didn't notice, but they were doing the Skol chant behind our bench, with 30 seconds left, and Mr. Wilf started doing it with them. And then they started chanting, "Ziggy, Ziggy," and he loved it. He was on cloud nine to go to where he is from. I believe they grew up pretty passionate Giants fans.
They were, yeah.
And to get
a
win
big deal for
meant
them,
a lot
yeah.
to them. So that was fun.
Kirk, you took great lengths, you mentioned last week, to stay focused on what happens in this building and block out the outside noise. You've mentioned that a couple of times. So what were your thoughts as the week progressed? You had the Diggs situation, and you're preparing for a football game in New York.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not my first rodeo. This is, I don't know, I've started probably 70-some games in this league, and let me tell you, they haven't all been positive. And you learn that, and I say this, it sounds cliche, but tough times don't last, tough people do. And you go through a tough time, a tough week, a tough stretch, and you just have to keep going. You can't quit, you can't stop, you can't be discouraged to the point of it affecting your play. And just try to keep my head down, keep working, and know that it'll turn, good things will happen, we'll start making throws. We've completed too many passes in this league and had too much success to believe that it's not going to turn. And, it was nice to have a great offensive showing and get a win. But what's so key is that you string some together now. And that's really where my focus goes is how can we turn this into more and more wins and really get ahead of the pack and be in the race to win this division.
How does a team deal with the noise? I said, but when you have that situation going on, how do you move forward from that?
Well, you ignore the noise and you just go play. I have enough to worry about reading Antoine Bethea as the middle safety. Is he in single high? Is he in quarter, half? And then where do I go accordingly? And feeling the pass rush and finding my check down and knowing what my footwork is and being able to diagnose a blitz and change the protection, understanding the snap count, working with the crowd noise. I got enough going on my plate to worry about all the other junk that's out there. And so if you really understood what my preparation looks like, I get in on a Thursday to study third downs, and I'm there for 12 hours. This isn't I'll see you Sunday. Until then, I'm just going to twiddle my thumbs. I'm working and preparing and staying busy, and then I go home and I got to give my son a bath and put him to bed. So, we have a lot going on and a lot more to keep me focused. And so you just go do your job and do your part, do your role. And expect that if you work hard and put your preparation in, that good things will happen and you'll make plays and other guys will contribute.
We have a very special guest, Kirk, in here, a young man who you've been working with since the beginning of OTAs, a late round draft pick, and someone you can really relate to.
Absolutely. Bisi Johnson has done a phenomenal job since we drafted him in the 7th round, mind you. Not a first, second round pick who has a gravy train to get a starting role. He's earned his way. And I've been very proud of his effort and pleased with what he's been able to do. And he's coming on in the last couple of weeks in such a way that I'm excited to see what this next stretch in the second half of the season looks like, because as a rookie, you grow every single week and you're making big strides as you play through things. So I'm excited to get him more involved in this offense and have that third element in the receiver room besides just Adam and Diggsy. And I think he can really help us, especially now that Chad Beebe has been out for a little bit with injury. Thanks for coming on. Your name's Ola Bisi, but you go by BC around the locker room to make it easy. So for fans listening, that's kind of how we call him. But you grew up in Colorado and went to Colorado State. Not a major program, but also still major Division I football at the same time.
For sure.
Talk about your recruiting experience, and did you have a lot of other offers, or was it kind of CSU and that was it?
Yeah, so coming out of high school, there really wasn't a whole lot. Going into my junior year, going into my senior year, it was that summer, we had a team camp. So there were like probably 6 teams, maybe 8 teams up at CSU, and we literally went it was like 3-a-days for 3 days straight pretty much. And Coach McElwain was the head coach at the time, saw me. They'd already had some interest in me through connections and things like that. So they offered me like the second day of the camp. So that was my first offer. That was my first college offer. Pretty crazy. I was excied, everything.
You always remember your first college offer.
Absolutely.
Mom and Dad, college is going to be paid for one way or another.
Yeah, they love to hear that. So then after that, there wasn't a whole lot of buzz. At the time there was, I don't even remember those, like some sports websites and things like that where they would keep track of your offers and things like that. Mine never really came out until probably a month later. So not a whole lot of buzz. Even after that, I had Northern Colorado offer me. I had an offer from Army, and really that's about it. Wyoming, Wyoming up north, they wanted me, but I didn't really want them, so
I got you.
I didn't even pursue that.
You played hard to get.
Yeah.
It's similar to my path. I was in a similar place, had a couple of other offers, but Michigan State was the school that I said once they offered it was let's go there. Don't need to look anywhere else. And Clint Kubiak, my quarterback coach, also played at CSU, so you guys had that connection, which is pretty cool.
I found that out honestly later into the fact because Coach Kubiak was recruiting me kind of towards the Vikings and everything like that. And then once my stepdad got word of that, he was like, oh, wait, his son played for them. So
absolutely.
I remember DB.
Now, what was your path like coming out of CSU when your career ends there? Are you expecting to get drafted? What was your thought process, being that you ended up a 7th-round pick? What were you thinking when the senior year ended?
So it really played out very well for me, I think. Coming out of CSU, I put up some all right numbers, 800 yards. So I knew I had a shot. And in my mind, I was confident that I was going to play in the NFL, whether it was going to be undrafted, drafted in the dang first round, whatever, and that's not realistic, but I knew I was going to get an opportunity.
Yep.
So I'm training out in Dallas, in McKinney, Texas at Michael Johnson Performance. And I get a call from my wide receiver coach, and he's like, dude, you just got an invite to the combine. And I'm like,
that's big.
No way. That's huge. Because that's really, for some reason, that just puts you
credibility.
It gives you credibility. It puts you out on the map, and you can really show your skills.
Another Colorado athlete, Philip Lindsay. That was partly why he didn't get drafted. He somehow did not get a combine invite, and it kind of hurt his name, even though he had such great tape. So anyways, combine invite helped.
Yeah, no, combine invite helped. So I'm out there training in McKinney, working, have the combine in February, I think, end of February. And I think I crushed it. Coming off the field.
It's an important job interview.
Yeah.
Was that it? Or was there a pro day at all at Colorado State, or was the combine kind of your ticket?
So there was the pro day, but going back to the combine, if I didn't have the best routes, I had the top 5 best routes in that combine. And I told the Arizona Cardinals wide receiver coach, I was like, if I didn't have the best routes, it was close enough. I may not be the fastest guy. I ran a 4.51, I think. And then all the other tests, I think they're there. But you're an athlete. You're there for a reason. They already know you can do most of those tests. So they want to see how you do route running, I think, at the end of the day, too.
Well, when the Vikings drafted you, I got a text from that Arizona receiver coach because he was my college teammate.
Really?
So Peter Badovinac, who's the assistant receivers coach for the Cardinals, was a backup quarterback when I was at Michigan State. And he's about a year or two younger than me.
Okay.
And so he's gotten into coaching after he graduated from Michigan State and found his way now to the NFL. And
Yeah.
he texted me immediately after you had drafted and said, we wanted Bisi Johnson so badly
That's
late in the
awesome.
draft,
Yeah.
and we thought we were going to get him.
Yeah.
And you guys got him. He said you're going to like him when he gets there. And so I kind of had my antennas up when you showed up, knowing that my buddy had spoken really highly of you. And
That's great to hear.
And I think what stood out for me when you showed up is that not a lot of seventh-round picks come in and solidify themselves the way you did by the end of August. I mean, you have basically from mid-May to the end of August to announce your presence, make yourself
For sure.
known, show up, and build trust with coaches and teammates, and you did that. And so just kind of talk about that journey too of coming in, learning the offense, meeting all new people, moving across the country, and finding a way to separate yourself among a lot of other good players to move up the depth chart.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of talent on this team, just coming in rookie-wise and everything like that. And I knew the biggest step for me, and I think for any rookie, is learning the playbook. Learning the playbook is the hands down the hardest
really
part
is.
of the NFL. I
And
think.
people don't realize that on the
People don't
outside
realize that.
until they would have to learn it themselves.
Yeah.
You'd be, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, they think you have to be the craziest athlete in the world to make it. No, learn the playbook first, and then you can perfect your craft and things like that. So I think that's where I just got to jump on it. I knew I needed to learn it. I sat in my room in the hotel for 2 hours a night, maybe 3 hours a night, just rewriting plays down, going through over it in my head. And that really wasn't enough for me. So then I would have to go out on the field and, you make mistakes. To grow, you have to make mistakes. So I would go out there on the field. I might run the wrong route. I might block the wrong guy. Coach is going to rip me. But, that's when it's locked in. It's like, I'm not going to make that mistake next time. So I think that's just how I really figured it out. And then, the natural athletic ability takes over for itself once you can really play fast.
What was that last day like when you found out you had made the roster, the final roster, and how did call family and friends? How did you react?
Well, even before the last day, I didn't even play in the Bills game. So I
The
was
fourth
like,
preseason game.
yeah.
Right.
So
Even more rare is to go from being a seventh-round pick to getting to sit out the
Yes.
final preseason game, and that's
That doesn't
somewhat
happen, no.
unheard of.
Yes.
So very unique, and that's the point I was making, was to the journey he had to really turn some heads in early August, such that by the end of August, the decision had been made.
Yeah, so that was huge for me. And then, I find it. The thing is, there's not really a call in the NFL like, hey, you're on the team. It's just back to work. See you, we're here on Monday. We're
No
back
news
to
is
work.
good
No
news,
news is good news.
And then the reality is, too, when they cut it from 90 to 53, you're never safe on the 53.
And that's true. It's very
They're
true.
always evaluating, making decisions. And so congratulations, you made it down to the 53 for now.
Mm-hmm.
But the second we find somebody else, no one's safe. And so
Absolutely.
it is a highly hyper-competitive environment.
Yeah.
And that's why sitting in your hotel room 2 to 3 hours a night going over the plays is so important, because
Yeah.
that's how you stand out. That's how you separate yourself. And to your credit, you understood that, right away.
Maybe you guys could talk about establishing a rapport on the field right now,
Yes.
Kirk, as well, because especially working with a guy you haven't worked with as much.
Yeah, I've talked with BC about how the coaches have had a lot of trust in him, and he had to put things on tape to prove that. And then, reliability becomes more important than ability sometimes. And if they feel like they can rely on you, then they'll put you out there. And he even said back to me then, well, Kirk, just as much with you, right? We have to build trust,
Yeah.
and I have to know that I can rely on him, and I have to know that I can trust him. And so the more he's out there, the more he plays, the more you build that. And, against the Bears, he was able to get in really because of our first 3 games being so run dominant. The personnel groupings we were in were, C.J. Ham at fullback. We had multiple tight ends in the game. Didn't give a down-the-line receiver as many opportunities. But in the Bears game, late in the game, got the chance to come in.
Yeah.
And really, I think, Beast, you showed some great stuff.
Thank you.
Talk about, having your first NFL catch, making some plays. Did it feel like, okay, here we are, I can do this. This is just football?
Yeah, it's surreal. But you don't have a lot of time to take it all in because it's back to the next play. The
Exactly.
next play I'm making another catch for a first down. So it was really exciting. But it's also just football. You just got to keep going to the next play, things like that. And I think That's just what I try to focus on. I don't try to make the moment too big or bigger than it is. It's just football.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you did a great job in that game. I thought you really
Thank you.
impressed, and as a result, your role will continue to grow. And I always tell people the NFL career is a marathon, not a sprint. And many times the outside noise will make it feel like a sprint. You have one bad game and the world's ending. You have one good game and you've got it all figured out. But it really is a marathon journey. And so not so much just this season, but for seasons up ahead, I think you're building something special, and you've got some great days ahead.
Thank you.
As far as being off the field, how are you adjusting to life in Minnesota, being kind of a Red Rocks, Colorado guy, knowing they have a little snow out there, but you've heard the horror stories already about coming here to Minneapolis and dealing with traveling on the roads. But what's it life like in Minneapolis for you right now?
Right now the weather up to this point has been pretty incredible. I think over the summer and everything like that, wasn't too humid, wasn't too hot. It was great. I got my place in Uptown. I was telling you guys before, I really like Uptown. There's a lot of good energy down there, and things like that. Just people, restaurants, things like that, and you can walk around Lake. What do they call it? Casca. I don't even know what they call it now. So
it's even harder to pronounce than
honestly, I sometimes call it Calhoun too.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff to do down there, and I'm adjusting pretty well. Midwest it's very similar to Colorado. I don't even know. Sometimes people don't consider Colorado Midwest, whatever. But I think a lot of people are really nice, a lot of great restaurants to eat, a lot of things to see. So, I don't know. The adjustment hasn't been too bad.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, we talked earlier about your name, Ola Bisi. I understand it's Nigerian.
Yeah.
Your dad's Nigerian.
My grandfather actually named me Ola Bisi, and it means to bring prosperity to the family. And I'm trying to do that, every day, and just working. And then I really think that Nigerians back in the day, and even now, like a lot of families, they want you to go to school, go to college, get your degree, go work, make money for the family, but they don't want you to play sports.
Okay.
A lot of times I don't think it's
not in the culture.
Yeah, it's not in the culture to go play sports. Like if you're playing sports, you're done. Like we don't really mess with you anymore. So now I think people are realizing that there's a lot of success, and maybe Nigerians are built for this, maybe they're built for the athleticism of the game of football or just any sport in general, because there's a lot of opportunity there for anybody. So I think that's really where Nigerians are maybe changing the culture now.
Sure. Well, Ifeadi Odenigbo and Ole Udoh are two other young players who I think have bright futures as well in this league, and there's other Nigerians around the league. So stay tuned. It'll be pretty interesting to see if the game grows over there.
Yeah.
Well, Bisi, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you.
I really appreciate you guys.
And we're excited to build that trust like we talked about, and just continue to grow in this, and have you be a receiver here for a long time who's going to make a lot of big plays.
Thank you.
It was great to hear from Ola Bisi Johnson, Kirk Cousins. Now we turn the page and get ready for the Philadelphia Eagles back at U.S. Bank Stadium, where you mentioned at the beginning of the year, win the home games. That's 8. Huge game on Sunday, to say the least, against the team that won the Super Bowl at U.S. Bank Stadium just a short time ago.
It's a great point. That was where they won it. Really good football team. Having played in the NFC East, I've played the Eagles many, many times, and every time has been a battle. I have great respect for their players. Many of them have been there a long time. I think of Brandon Graham as a pass rusher. When I think of Malcolm Jenkins, they've been kind of mainstays in this league and for the Philadelphia Eagles for a while. I think Carson Wentz is one of the best young quarterbacks in this league, and there are a few of them, but he's certainly one of them. Very talented, and no lead is ever safe with him and with that offense and with Zach Ertz. So, really good football team, and coming to town to play us in our place. I think it's going to be a great test for us, and I think in our 3 wins, they have been leads we've had early, or you could say early in the second half, pulled away. I don't see that game being like this. I think it's going to be a 4-quarter fight. Maybe it takes more than 4 quarters, but this is going to be a battle to the finish, as it usually is when you play the Eagles.
You mentioned Dan Bailey in our conversation earlier in the show, and again, no one talks about the field goal kicker unless there's a problem.
Sure.
And he seems to have found his rhythm as well, and that could be a huge factor on Sunday.
Well, he was outstanding this past weekend, but also last year against the Eagles, he had to hit a 50-some yarder on the road to give us a chance to win that game. We likely lose that game if he doesn't hit that field goal. So I believe with how close NFL games are, your kicker is about as valuable a player as you can have. And anytime you can grab 3 points, it makes a huge difference in the outcome of the plays you call, the way you handle the clock, and the way the game finishes. And so Dan Bailey is a big part of our offense, our team, and we're going to ask a lot of him going forward.
I'm sure your head coach, Mike Zimmer, will be talking a lot as this week progresses about cutting down the penalties.
Oh, yeah.
Is it at the point where after you complete a big play, you're looking around to see if there's a flag on the field? Because there's so many of them these days for any number of reasons.
Now, I found myself more so than ever yesterday or on Sunday, every big play, looking around, thinking there must be some reason to be a killjoy and bring this thing back. And so a couple times it was kind of disbelief when there wasn't a penalty. And I found a few other of my teammates doing the same thing, looking around because we're just getting used to it. And I don't know if it's how much it is the Minnesota Vikings are penalized or how much it's the NFL, but there are a significant number of flags against us this year, more than I've noticed in the past. And it's something we need to correct, we need to fix. We need to learn how they're calling these games so that we can make adjustments and corrections, and then we're not getting penalized in the future.
Well, I think the NFL I think they're overcompensating, and I think this is what's hurting the game a little bit because you don't have any rhythm to it. We understand when there's a blatant call. Yesterday, Mike Zimmer, Sunday, unsuccessfully challenged a pass interference penalty. I think he just did it to spite the officials, but I get the point. It's at the point now where almost any play you're looking around and saying, okay, there must be a flag on the play.
I'm fascinated by these pass interference challenges because it really incentivizes an offense to throw the ball down the field more. And I would encourage my receivers to, if you can't make an obvious catch, do something in the way you go up for the ball to look hindered in your ability to catch the football because I can throw the challenge flag even if they don't call it on the field and potentially get us not only a penalty but a spot foul, which could be a 60-yard penalty. And so some of the most important plays in the game could be incomplete passes that are no calls on the field and overturned through a challenge flag. And it's an interesting strategy, especially late in the game when you need to get back in the game. Mm-hmm. Just throw the ball up for grabs, tell your receiver to become a defensive back and not allow it to get picked, and then act like he got interfered with. It's an interesting strategy and one that I think teams may try to take advantage of with how many flags are being thrown.
I think they already are. Let's go to some of our phone calls. Not shockingly, people have nice things to say after you win a football game, but let's hear from some of the Viking fans out there.
Hey, Kirk, this is Jason in New Jersey, one of your biggest fans. I just want to say you had a heck of a game today. I'm so proud of you and the team. I think you should have a fiery pregame speech next week against the Eagles. Huge game in the conference, but just hats off to you and kudos to the whole team for a great win over the Giants. Skull Vikings.
A lot of Viking fans at that stadium as well.
Yeah, it's been outstanding to see week to week when we travel on the road how many Vikings fans we get. And then if you're winning late in the game, you really feel it. But even in warm-ups, you notice there's a lot of purple and gold. And there's even some places you'll go where the purple and gold can outnumber the home team. And there's not many teams in the league that can claim that. I mean, there are a few, but the Vikings are one of them. And it makes a big difference because to go into any road environment and get a win is very difficult. So when you can have a little bit of momentum or emotional, backing from the stands, it makes a difference.
All right, let's go to our next caller.
Hey, guys. My name's Charlie. I live in Apple Valley, Minnesota. I know you get a lot of criticism, but just know there are many of us that would rather reinforce you and support you through all of this. And me being one of those people, I got your back, Kirk. I root for you, and I believe in you. I believe in this team. And just keep focusing 1 week at a time, Kirk. You are a talented quarterback. Just keep it together. We can do this. Go, baby.
Yeah, 1 week at a time is a key mantra because it is such a roller coaster, and you have to look at each game as its own entity, and then whatever happens, flush it and move on. You can't allow a successful game to carry over and take your edge off for the next one, and you can't allow a tough loss to be a discouragement such that it affects your next one. And so I appreciate the support. I know that if we win, everybody's happy, and if we lose, nobody's happy. And so you got to go out there and earn the support of people by the way you play and the way you win. And we're going to try to do that here for the next 11 weeks and then beyond.
it is a crazy league, and I think everyone goes through this roller coaster, as you mentioned, over and over again. I mean, the Bears were dominant in their own way against you guys, and they go to London and lose to Oakland, a team that you dominated here at US Bank Stadium. So I'm sure they're feeling like, how did we lose to this football team?
Yeah, the phrase "any given Sunday" is proven true week in and week out in the NFL, and you have to just come ready to play for that game, regardless of what happened the week before, regardless of what you got the next week. See this game as the most important game in your life in this moment, and prepare and be ready in such a way that you play at a very high level and you don't make the mistakes that are going to cost you and come back to hurt you.
In the words of Bob Hagan, we don't have time for two more, we have time for one more. Let's go to our last caller.
Hey, Kirk, it's Ray Kewick calling from Winnipeg, Canada. I'm a longtime fan. I just wanted to say you're a talent, man. I pray for you every now and again to have the courage to face the nutty U.S. media and to rise above all the crazy noise that comes with that throughout an NFL season. But if I would say anything to you in such a short time, it would be this. Be you. Be that you like that guy, actually. The guy with the natural talent. Sometimes I think we can put too much pressure on ourselves as to what the OC or what the coach or what the media or what the players, want us to do. Just be you, man. You have the natural talent to be great. You know that. Try and shut out the noise. Don't be afraid to dare a little more during the games. God will cover you. You know that. Anyways, looking forward to watching a lot more games and have no doubt about your potential and what you can do. No doubt whatsoever. Go for it, man. Skol.
That's awesome. It's amazing to hear how perceptive the fans are. As far he lives in Winnipeg. It's not like he's down the street, and yet they can just kind of sense things, and that was a good word. And there's no doubt that I play better when I have an edge to me, when that guy who yelled "you like that" comes out. And believe me, the last week has brought that guy out a little bit in me, and there's some fire there and some edge, and that's when I play better. And so I'm going to try to channel that, like he said, every week going forward, and have a little edge to me. And this game requires that, I think, to play at a high level. So great call, and appreciate his support. And I'll have to tell Brett Jones, our backup center, that we had a Canadian call in, and it's great to have that.
A lot of Canadian Football League fans up there too. Well, all eyes will be on you again on Sunday, and again, the pressure cooker keeps on popping. And saying, can Kirk do this? Can he beat the Eagles at home?
Right.
It's a week by thing. So I mean, you are going to have an edge to you on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. This is a big game, and we're going to get tested every week. We're playing a good football team every week. But the Eagles are where our focus is, and I can speak from experience. We all can because we've played them so many times. But this is a team that I respect, and I find to be a great challenge. And we've had some great battles through the years. I've been on both sides of this game, and both sides in terms of wins or losses. And so it's going to be a 4-quarter fight, and boy, I know U.S. Bank will be rocking, and we got to be ready to give them a show.
I can tell you this, Viking fans, do not forget NFC Championship game and how the Eagle fans treated the Viking fans. I was in Philadelphia that game, so it will be extra, extra loud on Sunday. That I can guarantee you. There's a lot of pent-up frustration that they'll be hearing, so maybe that'll work in your favor. Good luck on Sunday against the Eagles, and we'll talk to you again next week, where you've been listening to Under Center with Kirk Cousins.